Hello, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you today about the blockchain ecosystem landscape in the healthcare sector. My name is Ray Dogum, and it is a privilege to be sharing my perspectives on how blockchain technology is revolutionizing healthcare. In this illustration, you see a doctor speaking with a young girl with thick glasses, saying, "Frankly, you are so far-sighted that you can see the future of healthcare." The point of this cartoon is to illustrate how difficult it is to see the future of the healthcare industry, given all its complexities and interdependencies. Nobody can predict the future, and I won't pretend that I can either. What I can share with you are some insights that I've gathered in my experience that can provide some clues about what to expect using blockchain technology in healthcare. If you didn't already know, the theme of this conference is the vision for 2030. And part of my vision, when enabled by decentralized ledger technology, includes radical data transparency, data interoperability, control or data access permissioning, and data privacy. As I mentioned before, my name is Ray Dogum, and I found my way into this space when I became very interested in the disruptive nature of blockchain while I was a health sector business student at Boston University. Many problems in healthcare can be fundamentally rooted to trust issues between different parties, which I believe blockchain will eventually solve. This was around the time when the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance was first launched. In 2018, I started the Health Unchained podcast, where I interview healthcare leaders leveraging blockchain to improve a variety of different business use cases. I've interviewed over 80 leaders so far and was recently listed in Health Tech magazine as one of the top 30 health IT influencers in 2021. Earlier this year, I joined Consensus Health, a company spun out of Consensus AG in 2020. Consensus AG is one of the largest blockchain and specifically Ethereum incubation companies. The pillars of Consensus Health are cybersecurity, privacy, identity, bioethics, and compliance. Prior to my current role at Consensus Health, I used to work at Amwell, a telehealth technology company where I deployed telehealth solutions to different health systems across the United States. I also spent a couple years at MIT as a lab manager in a stem cell laboratory investigating the effects of diet on aging and the GI system. These experiences helped me to form my perspectives on technology adoption in healthcare and my perspectives on the academic research science sector. In this presentation, I'll provide a brief history of blockchain technology in healthcare. I'll share with you some of the common healthcare use cases that are being addressed with blockchain. Next, I'll dive deep into the revolutionary data and trust paradigm shift that the industry experiences as we move from a Web 2 world to a Web 3 world. Then I'll cover some prominent examples of healthcare consortia featuring groups of companies collaborating with each other around blockchain technology. And finally, I'll share some of the real adoption challenges the industry faces, and will hopefully end with some time for a question and answer session. As you know, blockchain is still relatively new, and its history in healthcare is quite short, but there are strong indications that there is huge potential for major disruption here. For healthcare, it really all started in 2016, when the United States Office of the National Coordinator for Health IT organized a blockchain challenge, offering prize money to individuals, organizations, and companies who submit proposals for potential uses of blockchain technology in order to advance the health IT industry. 15 winners were announced, and some of these ideas have turned into real projects and companies. Around the same time, GDPR was introduced, and companies began planning for ways to become compliant with these new data privacy laws. In 2017, we saw a boom of initial coin offerings, which included a number of healthcare ICOs, some of which turned out to be complete scams. Around the same time, concerns over AI ethics became a hot topic, with the feud between Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk as an example. In 2018, we start to see early proofs of concepts developing, and over 100 different healthcare blockchain startups started to incubate globally. Also in 2018, Chinese scientists used CRISPR gene editing technology on a human embryo for the first time. This sparked an outcry by the bioethics community. The scientists were later sentenced to prison for their illegal medical practice. I include these historical examples of privacy, AI concerns, and bioethics topics because in context, they are important issues that we are still dealing with and I do think blockchain will be able to address these issues over time. As you can see in 2019, we start to see increased interest in companies seeking to collaborate with their competitors by forming blockchain-based consortia networks. At least 5 large consortia with major life sciences and technology companies were announced in 2019. Decision makers were starting to pay attention. In 2020 and 21, we witnessed the impact of COVID-19 on global healthcare systems. This pandemic revealed the weaknesses of our data integrity and communication infrastructure. Although we saw the industry slow down in 2020 as people were dealing with the immediate impact of COVID-19, 2021 showed signs of increased traction for some specific blockchain use cases. When we consider the vast array of healthcare use cases that can be improved with blockchain, we must consider the potential value that can be gained from decentralizing components of the use case and the complexity to actually implement the solution. I won't go into all these use cases, but you can see here that some of the less complex use cases like revenue cycle management, professional credentialing, and price transparency are financial transaction-based and or may not require patient information, which can create additional regulatory burdens on adoption. Ultimately, the most complex and valuable use case from my perspective is the enablement of personalized medicine using federated learning and machine learning with privacy-preserving blockchain technologies. Obviously, providing this level of personalized medicine will require significant amounts of personal health data, which means it requires a greater level of regulatory compliance. Many startups are working on at least one or more overlapping use cases shown in this diagram. Most recently, there have been significant efforts to develop digital vaccination passports that can verifiably prove a person's vaccination status while traveling and attending large events, while at the same time maintaining their privacy. This is not an exhaustive list of use cases, and if you are thinking of one that is missing, please let me know in the question and answer session later on. Next, I'll explain the data and trust paradigm shift that we are experiencing in a few slides as we transition from a Web 2 world to a Web 3 world. In the value creation paradigm that we are currently in, defined here as old paradigm, source data is typically shared with organizations for research and analysis by copying that data and sending it through a secure tunnel or internet protocol. This data needs to be moved outside of the enterprise's firewalls. In the case of sensitive patient information, the data is usually de-identified by removing key identifiers from the data set before it is sent. The data is then normalized by researchers, analyzed, and hopefully the collection of that data will provide valuable insights to the organizations or people involved. This value creation process in the old paradigm tends to be slow, labor-intensive, error-prone, and untrusted. As you can see in the emerging paradigm, enterprise source data can remain behind its firewalls. Patients can maintain ownership of their personal data, and we can keep all the source data intact, including the fully identifiable data without exposing, sharing, or transferring PHI. This source data can be normalized locally using distributed rule sets and automation, analyzed locally and combined with other federated learning network participants to create valuable insights about the data. When carefully architected and scaled, this method in the emerging paradigm can be rapid, automated, quality controlled, and trusted. To further explain why this matters, we see exponential growth in source data being generated. We have reached the logistical extremes of data lakes and other source data centralization strategies. 5G and IoT devices will usher in even more data that can be leveraged to generate valuable insights. As an example, Statista reported that the global healthcare data generated in the year 2013 was about 153 exabytes. The estimated amount of that data generated in the year 2020 was 2,314 exabytes. And just to give you a reference, 1 exabyte is 1 million terabytes. And that's a significant increase in that 7-year time span. The blockchain and healthcare community does believe that new methods are really needed to handle this massive data growth that we expect to continue to see in coming years. With regard to health technology disruption, something that we often say at Consensus Health is that blockchain is necessary, but not sufficient. What we mean is that while we believe a disrupted, decentralized ledger system or a blockchain is needed to enable some of these future healthcare applications, it is not enough by itself. There will be an assortment of privacy-preserving technologies like zero-knowledge proofs, trusted execution environments, blind and verifiable computation, differential privacy, homomorphic encryption, as well as quantum-resistant encryption to reach the full potential of blockchain in the healthcare space. Although I don't claim to fully understand how all these technologies truly work, but I do know that significant advancements in these fields are happening, and it would be worthwhile to pay attention to them. The convergence of these technologies, along with artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, 5G, and wearables, will unlock medical insights that we have never seen or even thought about before. We see a world where Web 2, which is our modern-day internet, evolves into a hybrid-like network with some public and private blockchains, before eventually ushering in a Web 3 world where most apps are decentralized and give users total control of their data. On this slide, you can see 5 examples of large consortia focused on delivering solutions within their respective healthcare networks. This list is meant to illustrate the variety of use cases and breadth of companies that are actively working to bring real-life blockchain technology to the healthcare industry. There are dozens of other examples by now, and these are just a sampling of what's out there. New members can decide to join the consortia as long as they comply with the membership and governance rules. The first and one of the earliest is the Medi-Ledger Consortium, which launched in 2017 with a goal of addressing some of the requirements of the United States Drug Supply Chain Security Act enacted by the FDA. Its current focus is tackling supply chain compliance and improving drug wholesalers' chargeback workflows. A blockchain technology company called Chronicled is the custodian of Medi-Ledger and facilitates its platform. The second example here is the Synaptic Health Alliance, which was founded in December 2017 and its first pilot project announced in April of 2018. Its focus is on creating a decentralized provider data directory management system that its health plan partners can use to keep their shared provider directory lists up to date and accurate. This reduces the administrative burden of manually updating records for individual companies and improves the overall patient experience. The third is MELODY, an acronym for Machine Learning Ledger Orchestration for Drug Discovery. This public-private partnership was announced in 2019 and is focused on using federated learning on the world's largest collection of small molecules with known biochemical or cellular activity to enable more accurate predictive models for drug discovery. The fourth example here is PharmaLedger, which started incubating in 2019 and officially started its 3-year journey as a consortia in January of 2020. It is also a public-private partnership with funding from industry and the European Innovative Medicines Initiative. The consortium includes pharma companies, technology companies, universities, and hospitals across Europe. It is running multiple work streams across 8 different use cases, including decentralized clinical trials, e-consent, decentralized e-leaflet, and anti-counterfeiting solutions. The fifth example here is Avenir Health, which was announced last month in August of 2021, and it grew out of the Health Utility Network Consortium. The members of this consortium have been working together since 2019 under the Health Utility Network with a focus on increasing transparency and security while reducing administrative burdens for its members. In the future, I can see these consortia becoming more like DAOs or decentralized autonomous organizations, but we are many years away from that possibility since there are still many technological, financial, and legal issues that need to be resolved with decentralized autonomous organizations. Now, I hope you have a better sense of how blockchain technology will impact applications in the healthcare field. It's not all roses and sunshine, as there are still many challenges that need to be addressed before blockchain can be scaled for patient care or health IT business applications. The healthcare industry is known to be highly risk averse when it comes to new technology. Blockchain is no exception, and in fact, it is seen as potentially even more risky because it also affects financial, legal, and social aspects of clinical care. Blockchain regulation is still a gray area, and many jurisdictions have not been clear about how to implement this technology when patient care could be at risk. One of the greatest challenges is orchestrating effective governance structures to manage network operations and memberships within consortia or blockchain networks. There is tons of misalignment that can occur when trying to develop these structures. This is a big topic of discussion among everyone in the space and is continuously evolving as we learn from the failures and successes of the decentralized finance sector. Global data standards are still being developed by the community, so this is another challenge that could hinder adoption. There is concern from many decision makers about the volatility and uncertainty about cryptocurrencies in general, which is seen as an overall risk to blockchain adoption. Another less discussed challenge is that there are some stakeholders out there that are profiting from the waste, fraud, and abuse that's intertwined in the existing healthcare system. These stakeholders will discourage innovation that may put them out of business. Unknown technological hurdles, meaning there could be unforeseen technological issues that may pose significant threats to the advancement in the field. I do believe we will eventually overcome any challenge, but we can never be certain about this. Developing applications must follow new data rights policies, and this can be a challenge for early adoption. Eventually, blockchain will actually empower users and offer even better data rights access controls. We've become accustomed to our fast, centralized applications and have really high expectations when it comes to user experience. Given that we are in the early stages of blockchain adoption in healthcare, some users will refuse to sacrifice a good user experience for self-sovereignty and privacy controls. I thank you all for your attention today, and I hope this presentation was interesting and helpful. I welcome any questions or comments you may have. You can also reach me via email and Twitter.